Hmm.
And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I'm so excited to welcome back the incredible Walter Mosley, one of America's most celebrated writers. He is the National Book Award 2020 Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters recipient. He's been named a Grand Master of the Mystery Writers of America, honored with the Anisfield Wolf Award, a Grammy, a Penn USA Lifetime Achievement Award, the Robert Kirsch Award, numerous Edgars, and several NAACP awards. His work has been translated into 25 languages. He has published fiction and nonfiction, and he's here to give us the inside scoop about his brand new book, Every Man a King. Mr. Mosley, welcome back to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about it anyway. Not that I don't know the book, but it's just that, it's really hard to talk about mysteries and not kind of
give it away,
trip over it. But you know that. This is a book. This is a new character of mine, Every Man a King. I wrote a book about him. I thought it was last year, but it was really 5 years ago. Time was going by quickly. So I wrote this book. And, that's a story, and it's a story about my main character, a Black ex-cop who was framed and went to prison for a little while, got out, and now he's on his own. And he's a little broken over that. He has an ex-wife that hates him and he hates, but he has a daughter who he loves very much and who works for him. He has a grandmother who's just a wonderful 93-year-old character, and she's an ex-sharecropper, and she's hanging out with a white guy who's named Roger Ferris, who's a billionaire, and a very, very rich billionaire, maybe the richest man in the world. So Joe gets called to the mansion over, on the west side overlooking the Hudson, and the guy tells him, he says, "Look, I need you to find out some information about this guy named Quiller. Quiller, he's a genius. He's alt-right. He's an inventor. He's a writer. He's an activist for alt-right things, and he's been arrested secretly and put into Rikers. That's the prison that they held Joe at, and they're holding him kind of secretly there, and they're getting ready to charge him." And Roger Ferris, for reasons kind of cloudy, says, "I need you to find out if he really committed these crimes, and if he hasn't, we need to help him." And Joe, he didn't like the idea, but he owes Roger, and his grandmother is happy with Roger, so he says, "I'll take the case on, and we'll see where it goes." And so that's the beginning. We're going to see where the case goes, and he deals with all these people in the alt-right. He deals a lot with private prisons that exist, around the world. Second largest economic force in the world, and he's trying to figure out. Now, I want to say, Joe was trying to figure out the crime, and after I had finished the book and solved the crime and everything was fine, I realized that what the book is about, because a mystery can't just be about plot, but what the book is about is replacing hate with love. That's what the book is about. And it doesn't mean that people get off any better than they would otherwise, but there's a possibility that all these, middle class and working class people who, hate each other because of race or gender or age or what part of the country they're from or who they vote for, all those people, if they can change, then we can change.
Oh, Mr. Mosley, I have goosebumps. I love that. And I love this book. And I'm so excited to talk to you about it because there's a lot to talk about. First, I just want to welcome everyone. We are broadcasting live to 7 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So no matter where you're watching from Friends, you're in the right place. This is the right time. It is Mystery Monday. And because Mondays can be murder, we're going to make them a little less painful for you. So whatever questions you have for this incredible, multi-award-winning, legendary writer, get them going in the comments. We'll get them right over to you. Rhonda, welcome to the conversation. She's sending you so much love.
Aww.
Carrie, welcome to the conversation. Always a pleasure to have you pop up, sir. He says, woohoo. Monica, welcome to the conversation, saying you are one of her favorite writers. Isn't he amazing, Monica? He's just the best. Marvin says he is a big fan, calling himself Fearless Jones fan. Great to have you here, Marvin. Let us know if you have any questions. Karen, welcome to the conversation, saying my favorite mystery creator and creative storyteller. Thank you for your work. Beautifully said, Karen. Catherine, welcome, saying love this author and what he stands for. Yes, beautifully said, Catherine. Rhonda says, I can't wait to read it. Well, Rhonda, I have some good news. We have signed books available from my partner in crime, Murder by the Book. And although Walter Mosley don't come cheap, we have those books on sale tonight. So it's wonderful news. You can get a signed copy of this book, which is just the perfect gift for yourself or the writer in your life. So no matter where you're watching from, I'm going to pop that link up in the comments, whether you're in YouTube or Facebook, y'all grab your copy, get this book for yourself because it is such a treat. It is just so beautifully and powerfully written, and you will love immersing yourself of Joe, aka King Oliver, as he unravels the mystery of Quiller and seeing the relationship develop between him and Aja, his daughter. You're going to love this book as much as I do, as much as we all do. So grab it. Jay Ivanel, welcome, saying thanks for this, Sarah and Mr. M. Mystery Monday. Woohoo! My thoughts exactly. Sarah, welcome to the conversation, saying hello from Yale University. Welcome, Sarah. Thanks for joining us. All right, y'all, let's get into, Rhonda's wants to know, she says, I live in Houston. Can I pick my copy up in the store? Yes, ma'am, you sure can. They're all signed. And this week they're 25% off. So it is the deal of the century. Run on over there.
Yeah.
Paul's joining the conversation live from Vegas. Paul, welcome. For everyone else who's not in Houston, you got to order, but the good folks at the bookstore will ship it right out. Now, let's get into some of the amazing praise that your book has earned. So Booklist raving, Mosley again shows his talent for character building, not only in the many-sided Joe, as vulnerable as he is resilient, but also in superb supporting cast, including Joe's daughter, Aja, mercenary Olia, who could easily front her own series. The second King Oliver novel lines up with excitement generated by its Edgar Award-winning predecessor. Strong words there from Booklist. So, Mr. Mosley, let's kick off with that. What do you think the secret to character building is?
Yeah, it's so hard to say, because writing, is like any other, like performative art, like acting or jazz music or rock and roll for that matter. You discover it on the way. There's a something you're trying to do, something you're trying to say, and there are words that you want to follow, but you continue on to the end. I like my characters very much. When I write about them, I try to get them to say who they are by what they feel, not trying to identify themselves, but how they approach each other, how they conflict with each other, and then of course after that, then you rewrite a book like 20 times. And so when you slowly begin to realize where you were going, and then you lock your characters into who they are. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 or 5 books for me to really completely understand them, but I can't hear you.
I muted myself so you wouldn't hear me. You wouldn't hear any background noise. So who's your favorite character in this book? Who's your favorite peripheral character besides King?
Wow. Wow, that's really hard. The intercontinental op Olia is kind of wonderful. She's I love the Continental Op, Dashiell Hammett's character, and so I made her an intercontinental operative, and she's been hired by Melquart Frost, who's a truly evil man, but who loves Joe, and he knows Joe needs to be protected, so he hires this woman to come in and protect Joe, and she does an extraordinary job, and she learns from the job. She learns who she is. She learns that everything she's been doing may have been wrong, and that Joe's understanding of life makes more sense. Even if she thinks she's better than Joe at doing this stuff, she can see that his understanding of life, the way that he lives, is what she wants, which is, it's a wonderful character move. That it's very rare that you have, just a character who appears in one book to do something like that. But I really like her. And of course, Melquart is a wonderful character. I mean, he's just so evil and so innocent at the same time. It's kind of wonderful.
My favorite character is Nana, his grandmother, because she's just so sassy and feisty, and here she is keeping company with this, elderly. She herself 91, a young lass of 91, keeping company with also a 90-something-year-old billionaire, but she still goes in the kitchen and does her own dishes. And I just love her ability to go in there, do her own dishes, which is what I would do, but then also study dancing and dance 3 times a week with him in their ballroom dancing classes. And I just love that study and contrast. And as someone who was very close to her grandmother, I was very close to my grandmother in her 90s. That character just melts my heart. So I love to share that with you, and love to know that Olea is your favorite. I realized I was saying that wrong in my head.
Oh, it doesn't matter. You can say it any way you want. I wasn't, I just didn't know if I could do it the same way you did. So I said, Olea. But it's fine. The grandmother, I think, is wonderful also because every character is dealing with their passion at heart, and all of them have been wounded somewhere in life, except maybe the granddaughter. And but one of the things, is that the grandmother, comes from working stock, poor working stock, Black people, and Roger Ferris is a so-called white person, and she really does like him, and she likes going out with him, but she keeps saying it's 3/4 of a relationship, because she's not gonna kiss him, but she'll still go out with him. She'll still spend time with him. Lives in his house even. And it's kind of wonderful because you see that the conflict, the racial conflict, realized in a way that's not people who hate each other, actually people who like each other. And I mean, it's I have fun. I do. His grandmother's great. I like the characters in Joe King Oliver. I think that they, I like the characters in Easy Rawlins too, but these are, they're more contemporary, and it's interesting in another way.
And I love how Nana talks about her relationship with Roger, as you said, 3/4 of a relationship, because she won't so much as kiss him, but she talks about managing him and calls that, she said, well, that's women's work. And I thought that's so true. That over the course of history, women have had to steer and manage and navigate these complicated rivers of life and manage the menfolk. And I actually paused and reread that so many times, and I because it really, really stuck with me as her and emblematic of women. I loved that line.
And yet that, I think that's very true, and I'm very happy about that with her. But and also the fact that she doesn't really trust Roger, because Roger's a powerful man. He's a very wealthy man. He can cause things to happen, legal or illegal, it doesn't matter. And Joe's saying, well, if you don't trust him, why would you be with him? She said, well, the first man I fell in love with, he killed 4 people I know of, and but he was my man, and that's another kind of like, the world we live in, that world that you try to control.
the world that you try to control, and also how I loved that moment as well, because who Nana is to Joe is this force of loving, grandmotherly warmth and love, but who Nana was before Joe was even a glimmer in her eye is a totally different person. And so I loved that, because I think so often as young people, or Joe's 44, I'm 46, you think of your grandmother as, well, she's my Nana. I thought of my Nana as my Nana. Nana had a whole other life before you were around, and you're never going to know who that really was. And so I loved that moment too, of who people are to different members of their family.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Okay. LD Barnes, welcome, saying hello from Chicago. Thank you for the Crime Writers of Color. Yes, this incredible organization that you run with Kelly Garrett and your other cohorts. Tell everybody about that, Walter.
Well, I don't know. A few years ago, I was thinking, when I first became a mystery writer, there's about like 10, working Black mystery writers, and we used to travel around together and do events together, and we were friendly. Eleanor Taylor Bland, Valerie Wilson Wesley, Gar Anthony Haywood, Gary Phillips. There's a lot of us. And there was a kind of a camaraderie that we had. And so I was thinking that it would be nice to recreate that in a more formal way. And, and Kelly Garrett had been thinking about it even deeper and more. So we talked and we said, this would be a good time to start the Crime Writers of Color. And, listen, Kelly did all the work. I mean, I didn't do anything. I was just, I just said it's a good idea. But I think it's really wonderful, and and we invite as members anybody from any so-called race, so-called minority race here in America and maybe in other parts of the world. I think there's about 400 members now, and we get together, electronically, and we try to support each other. People talk to each other. People, read each other's books. People share what kind of knowledge they have. If they have something they can offer that other people can use, they put it out there. And it's been I think it's been very good to have a place that you can call your creative home. Or a creative home anyway, and so that's it's been very wonderful. It's like the organization, the section I started at City College of New York, which is the publishing certificate program, where they teach people of color, mostly, not only, but people of color, about publishing and try to get people into publishing, because it's a very white industry. And and it's something that we need to change.
Absolutely. So here is the link for Crime Writers of Color. So everybody go check it out. You can find so many amazing books, and you can look for what genre or subgenre you like. So whatever, if you are looking for a police procedural, domestic suspense, whatever, check that out. It's such a wonderful resource. And thank you for sharing more about that. Karen has said she's read everything you have ever written.
Really?
Amazing.
I don't
Karen,
know.
tell us what your favorite book is, but have you taken his masterclass on erotica? Because that's where the true fans are. Let us know what some of your favorite work by Mr. Mosley is, Karen. Marvin's joining us from Dallas. Welcome, sir. So such a pleasure to have you. Oh my goodness, we have Melissa joining us from Australia, saying good day, Sarah and Walter.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here, Melissa. So great to have everybody. We have Sweet Liz joining us from YouTube, saying, I'm sorry I'm joining late, but I'm so glad I can make it. I just finished Every Man a King last week. Isn't it so fabulous, Sweet Liz? Monica would like to know, how did you come up with Easy Rollins and his complex, honest, and strong character? Great question.
It is interesting and a little difficult. The first book I wrote about Easy was Gone Fishing, which didn't get published till a while later with Black Classic Press. And then I wrote Devil in a Blue Dress. It was I didn't know it at the time. It was the reason it's hard to explain is because I didn't know at the time that I was writing about my own experience, which means that being Black in Los Angeles, in the hood. Most of the people came from Texas. There are so many extraordinary and wonderful Black men who would just be there in life for you. They would protect you. They would guide you. They would tell you what you needed to do, and they expressed a great deal of love and respect. And in fiction, I don't see too much of that. There's the guy, he's a pimp, or he's a thief, or he's a cop, or and I'm going, yeah, but they're just really great people who live in a community and try to support that community. And even though I wasn't thinking about it at the time, that's what Easy Rawlins is. He's a guy who likes to help people in his community. That makes him happy. He has, he's country. He says, I got something, let's share it. I can help you get out of your trouble, with that lease you got, and maybe you can give me some business to do. It's really it's so much the kind of life I live, but with greater tension on it. But still, it's the same kind of life.
I love that. I didn't know that backstory about Easy Rawlins. Thank you. And your first Easy Rawlins book, Gone Fishing. Thank you for the great question, Monica. Thank you for the fabulous answer. Rhonda would like to know, are you familiar with the works of writer Raymond Andrews? May he rest in peace.
Oh, I don't know who Raymond Andrews is. Yeah, but I'll look him up. I'll write down the name here.
Raquel, welcome to the conversation, saying Walter Mosley is a legend. Amen. Amen. He is. We have the legend here himself. So let us know if you have any questions for him. Monica says, thank you so much for answering her question. Y'all, I want to let you know that Mr. Mosley is being honored as the thriller master at International Thriller Writers, ITW's International Conference in New York City, May 30th through June 5th. He is the guest of honor and will be honored as a thriller master there. So you can come and hear this man speak. And so here you can meet him, get to sign your books, and hear him speak about his amazing career, see him honored for his amazing work. So here is that link for ITW's conference where you can come in and witness this. It's going to be really special. Let's get back to some of this amazing praise and talk about your process. So Daniel Nee from the New York Times Book Review talks about this book skitters across the spectrum between orthodox and radical like a polygraph needle wired to a nervy accomplice. I love that.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
That was some good writing right there. He recommends this for fans of the Easy Rawlins and Leonid McGill series. He says they will not be disappointed, for we remain in the realm of the deliciously gritty noir. I love that. And I also loved how you centered the character of New York, the city, in the same way that you center LA as a character in your Easy books. Now, you're based in New York, right? Is this an homage to the city? What's the story behind the story on that?
Well, it is true. I mean, the two cities I know the best, well, there's more, but the two big cities I know the best are Los Angeles and New York. And, when you know a place, you live in, the way we live in places, we kind of define ourselves by our surroundings. And I try to do that, with these books, about Joe, of course, and also Leonid McGill, just to see what's going on in New York, which is very contemporary stories. And I write about LA. Most of the stuff I write about LA is more, like right now, Easy Rawlins is in 1970. That's where he is. But it's I think that everything is a character in your novel. I remember when I was reading, I think it was Ross McDonald. I don't think it was Chandler, but he's just sitting there, and there's a bug, walking around the corners of the room, which I kind of repeat a little bit in this novel, and that bug becomes a character in the story. Everything that you see, a door, the way it's painted, is the paint peeling? Or is it falling apart? Everything that you see and experience that you register is telling you more about the story that you're hearing. And and I'm very committed to that. Very committed to that, to make a place work, because and it's funny. I remember a guy once came up to me and he says, Mr. Mosley, you wrote that book. You remember Mouse was living in a greenhouse? And I said, yes, I remember. It was in that greenhouse. Yeah, uh-huh. He said, I live across the street from that house. Now, I made up that house. So he didn't live across the street from it, but I had written it in such a way that he identified with it and made it his own. It wasn't it wasn't a mistake or a problem or something. It's something, that's what you want to try to do when you're writing about place in your books. Yeah.
I love that. Now, what about the place of Rikers? So Joe was framed, sentenced to life in prison in Rikers, and that is the stuff of nightmares for him. He has to go back, braving this terrifying den of horrors and fear in order to get to Quiller, who's being held there secretly and possibly illegally. And then so let's talk about Rikers. Have you ever been there? I haven't.
Oh, no.
What was that like?
No. I mean, really, honestly, I'm not. My friend Paul Coates, who's a publisher of mine, also Ta-Nehisi Coates' father. He's always telling me, so, well, Walter, I need you to go to prison because these people want to hear you read your books. And I used to say, Paul, I hear you, and I know what you're talking about. I said, but there's only one way you're gonna get me to prison, and you're gonna have to catch me first. I haven't, but I know a lot of people who've been in prison, and I know a lot about it, and I've done some research on it, and so I try to create a place that I think is believable, and
it was believable.
I think I did. Yeah, it's so a hard thing.
Yeah, it was so scary. I mean, he's going down into this, door after door. And I'm thinking, I was feeling claustrophobic and panic because I'm thinking, how's he going to get out of there? What if, he's going to see someone who's not even supposed to be held there, who may be being held illegally. What if they don't, Ferris, the billionaire, told him he's going to get him back out, but Joe doesn't even know why Quiller's being held or why Ferris is involved. So it's getting scarier and scarier, stressful. And then he gets in there and Quiller's a white supremacist, yet another layer. And then he goes and meets Quiller's wife, even more unexpected. So there just is so many, deliciously layered, complexly plotted. Let's talk about that plotting, because this is such a complexly developed story. Are you a plotter?
Well, yeah. You can't write a mystery and not know plot, right? That's just a fact. How you do the plotting, becomes the question, because it can't be a straight line. And in life, things aren't a straight line. If you're doing any kind of investigation, you really don't know what you're going to find, and you don't know if people are telling you the truth, and you don't know if you're hearing the truth. And like with this, Joe is looking at Roger Ferris, and he knows that Ferris is lying to him. He knows that Ferris has some secret reason for wanting to help this guy who he doesn't like and has nothing in common with. But he can't say that, because if he's too strong in the investigation, he's going to mess it up. And while I'm writing, that's what I'm thinking about. And of course, I know pretty much where it's going to start and where it's going to end, but how it gets there, is always developing.
That is interesting, because it's a windy road of how it gets there. And I was thinking, how the heck, I was trying to imagine you writing this twisty tale. And but this is why you're the thriller master and the National Book Foundation honoree, because you can do that, which is just, I'm continue to be in awe. Sweet Liz saying, and I love the complex male characters, men who have experienced life. Well,
yeah, it's so interesting, about men and women. And when you're going to write about them, the women have to be, have to have a whole character. Maybe they're strong, maybe they're not strong. Same thing about men. You have somebody like Jackson Blue or Paris Minton, two of my characters, who are, cowards basically, but they have other talents. Some men who just can't control themselves. I was just writing about Jackson's wife, Jewel. Jewel's a real estate, almost mogul now in Los Angeles. And, she loves Jackson, but she doesn't trust him. and she talks to Easy about that, and that's the way it is. You the life that you live, everything can't be covered, everything can't be perfect.
Mm,
You do what you have to do, and you love who you love. There's nothing you can do about that. and
mm,
and it's really fun, to work with characters, because I know a lot nowadays, and probably all through history, there's been kind of barriers between men and women. you know I mean, many times I've been told by women that they'll say, well, of course a black man can't write about black women because they don't know what they're talking about. And
mm,
and I hear it, and I think, and I understand why they're saying it, but the truth is, human beings have a lot in common. All human beings get hungry. All human beings get horny. All human beings get afraid. All human beings grow old and die. All human beings have a deep passion for children. And if you can find anything that brings those two things together, then you understand humanity at any rate.
mm.
And I try. Nobody's perfect as a writer, but I try.
I thought, again, in the character of both Nana and in Quiller's wife, who very much surprised me, I loved how you wrote women, and I don't say that to all male writers. So thank you for
Mm.
that. Um,
Yeah, I think, well, there's strength in a character is, like a lot of men think that strength is physical,
mm,
and sometimes it is. I mean, there are people, and physical women in Easy Rawlins novels, for instance, or even in this one, like Aaliyah, they're really strong, and they'll say, Joe looks at her and he said, well, the chances are, if you go after her, she's going to kill you. you know okay, this is a kind of wonderful thing, but there's also other strength, making the right choices, where you're going to go, how you're going to feel, what's the right thing to do in this situation.
ooh,
Yeah.
this
And
is food for thought. Food for
well,
thought.
and writing, I mean, that's what writing is about. It's us thinking about how we do things, and what's right with us, and what we love about people, what we're afraid about in people, what we're afraid about in our own lives. All of that is
Mm,
is what we're writing about, right?
I love that. Karen picking up the thread, saying she has read every single book of yours. She can't
Okay.
pick a favorite, but Known to Evil, Landon McGill, and Six
Mhm.
Easy Pieces stand out to me. The Man in the Basement was a favorite, and Socrates, Forlow, and Easy are my favorite characters. I can see the cities and the setting and imagine myself in them. Oh,
No, that's
beautifully
wonderful.
said.
Thank you.
Beautifully said. Rhonda saying your style is similar, but your work is much more inspiring, convincing, and sophisticated than the writer she asked you about
Hmm.
earlier. Thank you for that. Paul, welcome, saying that's Chandler in Farewell, My Lovely. Sweet Liz saying definitely felt immersed in the city when I read Landon Miguel and Joe King Oliver. Kathy, welcome. She wants to know, did you ever have to deal with the fear that your writing would not be good enough when you started? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
Well, I overcome it every day when I'm writing. There's a thing. You're always challenged, by any kind of you know uh, challenge. I mean, I know I just said the word twice, but it's a challenge when you sit down to write, and you write a sentence and the sentence doesn't work, and you write it again and it just doesn't work, and you develop a character over a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and you say, oh, that's not right. I've been working on this thing with these people right now, and I realize that we've made a flaw in the characters. It's a television thing, but still it's the same thing. If the character is like this, then the situation they're in is impossible. And so you always feel overwhelmed, and you just keep pushing against it until you do not something perfect, but the best that you can. If you do the best that you can in writing, I think that that's always good enough, because there's no perfect novel, not even Flaubert.
Ooh, so first of all, my heart is receiving these words as salve. So thank you. And I think Kathy, you and I are feeling the same way. So even at this level, National Book Foundation, a Grammy, NAACP, Image Awards, plural, Edgars, every other word out there, you still, when you sit down to write your book, battle that fear that your work won't be good enough.
when you're doing the work, and if you don't feel challenged by it, you're probably doing something wrong.
Mm.
I mean, you should feel challenged. It should be, a novel has to be bigger than your head. If you could hold a whole novel in your head, then it's not really a novel. But listen, this new thing, the New York Times review is not only a review; it's the cover of the book review. It's the cover of the Sunday book review. I look at that and it makes me nervous. I say, oh my God! I mean, wait a second. I don't know if I'm that good. Couldn't I just be on page 7 and they would leave it at that? I mean, you always worry, and that's good. It's good that you worry and that you challenge yourself and that you don't feel perfect. Because otherwise, you're just maybe repeating yourself.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Karen saying, I am an aspiring crime writer praying for the time to share my ideas in the future.
That's
Karen,
good.
I think this is the masterclass you needed to hear. And if you can come join us at Thriller Fest, because we've got a lot of really great resources for aspiring writers. You can pitch agents.
Yeah.
You can take master classes. You can take craft fest classes. There's a lot of incredible resources, and people have gotten a lot of book deals out of there. And Mr. Mosley will be honored. So please do join us there. Karen, speaking for all of us, saying, wow, I know, I feel wow as I'm listening to this. Rhonda wants to know will there be more films based on your mysteries?
Well, I'm working on a lot of stuff right now. I'm working on an Easy Rolling series, and I'm hoping that goes someplace. I have 2 other things. One, Archibald Lawless, Anarchist at Large. It's an anarchist detective. I really love that idea, and I want to do that. And I'm working on a couple of films. My producing partner Diane, who's somewhere out there, doesn't want me to say what films they are, but hopefully I will be shooting a movie in the next few months.
Well, this is very exciting. Is Diane here to keep you in line and make sure you don't spill the
That's
tea?
right. I feel her eye. I see a little bit of eye right there going, what are you saying?
I'm feeling those eyes myself. Oh my goodness. Well, we will look forward to that when the moment is right to reveal it, and we will all line up to see that. Rhonda's saying that's what we love about your work. You really know how to develop female characters. Yes, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, that's it's a comment, because I really, there's been no times that, well, a black man can't write about women. Why not? Black women can write about men. That's because we understand how stupid you are. And I'm saying, well, it is true. It's true. But, we could also understand how stupid we are, Anyway.
Well, thank you for the I didn't know that feedback happened. So thank you. Marvin saying he loves it. Marvin, yes, indeed. Karen saying you capture so many sides of Black people that make us soulful and genuine and leave space for us not to apologize for our shortcomings and highlights.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I think that it's a really important thing to write about real characters, with flaws, characters who are trying to figure out how to get from here to there in life, characters who, have been dealt a tough hand, but, are still playing it. I think it's really important. And I think it's true that, for a long time, for a long time, there were no books about Black people. And then there are books about Black people, but either they become overly political, or we have to be apologetic in a way, or a lot of people, try to drive a wedge between Black men and Black women, and, and all of this stuff. But in the end, we're all, we're like an extraordinary group of Americans who have been here almost since the beginning of the colonization. Almost like, there's only a few years in there. We've been here since, the 15th century, in the 16th century. We've been here that long. And we've built this country. And we've built the psyche of this country, which is, good and also insane. And I think that, we're really right to talk about that, to talk about who we are, what we are, where we come from. And if we can do that, then I think that we can, develop a deeper understanding of the whole nation.
That's beautifully said, and perfectly said, as we are coming off of Black History Month and talking and should continue the conversation about Black history and the vital role that Black Americans have played in American history. So important, and so beautifully said, and a year-round conversation.
Well, I wrote a book called John a Woman, which is about a deconstructionist historian. And one of the things that the deconstructionist historian teaches at this university, there's a whole other story going on, but one of the things he teaches at this university is that if you don't know the history of every member and section and sect of your nation, then you can't know your own history. Your own history becomes fallacious, because if you don't understand what other people have done, either positively or negatively or just artistically, if you don't get it, then you don't know yourself. It's not only that you don't know my history, you don't know your own history, because you think things came from someplace that they didn't. And so that's why writing books like this and crime writers of color just in general helps us teach the world.
And I think that's what scares me so much, when people want to limit want to limit books or want to limit the teaching of Black history. I'm looking at Florida right now, thinking about that, and it's like we need to be talking about this more, not less.
Absolutely. I mean, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. You need to know. If you don't know who a woman was telling us, she was reading about an anthropologist who was visiting some in quotes primitive tribe of people along the Amazon, and basically the only thing that the guy learned was that the men did everything and the women didn't do anything. And then when the guy was leaving, he realized that the women the night before had left. And he said, "Where are the women?" He said, "Well, we don't know really. 2 months every year they go up into the mountains and they're just among themselves." And I said, "Well, don't you know what happens?" Is, no, whenever a man follows them, they kill him. So there's this whole history that's happening, but he almost didn't get it.
Absolutely. Marvin saying Mama Joe is a strong character.
Yeah.
Monica saying it's Women's History Month now. What are some of your favorite women writers? Great question.
Oh, well, listen, I mean, they're the greats, like kind of, not historically, but a little bit further back, Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, June Jordan, Sonia Sanchez, who among them is still alive. The people who've done all of this, amazing work trying to keep the live and the magic and the music of people alive. And then they're new people, it's people like Kelly, and the crime writers of color, and 300 other women in that organization. I mean, it's so interesting, to talk. I mean, listen, if you read Soldier by June Jordan, you'll know something like that. It's her memoir, really a biography. But the idea is, I'm never that much thinking about the characters, like, well, this writer, I like this writer and I write like everything they write. I like, different books. I love Sula, for instance. It's and we need to pay attention to all of our writers. That's the thing that's so important, because it's how the language is kept alive. Anyway, there's more to say about that, but I can't say it now.
Well, I am loving this conversation. And Monica, there's so many amazing female writers that I just had the pleasure to honor. Tracy Clark, her latest Tide just came out. She's an award-winning author out of Chicago. If you like cozies, V.M. Burns is amazing. Valerie Burns, she's an award-winning cozy author.
Attica
Locke, Kelly Garrett, Lynn Liao Butler, somebody else's life. So many amazing ones. So definitely DM me if you want some more ideas, because I can find something for whatever genre you like. LD saying the men in Awkward Black Men were so identifiable and on the mark. I loved it so much.
It was so interesting for me to, because I wrote Awkward Black Man because I wanted to write Black characters that don't usually appear in literature. And I just was, been on this book tour for this book. This is the second to last stop. I'm in New York right now. And I I ran into all these men around the country who said, we really like it that, that you're writing about, us in other ways, people who are worried about their weight, or people who they're so smart they just get in their way, or people whose whole life is patterned around a broken heart,
Mm,
all of that stuff that, that usually, one doesn't, kind of put upon Black
mm.
men. But, of course, we're just like everybody else. So it was, I felt so great doing it. I'm trying to do a series out of, the awkward Black man. We'll see what happens.
Thank you for that comment, LD. Thank you for the scoop, Mr. Mosley. Sweet Liz saying, not only do I think you write strong female characters, I love how your characters love the women, not cinnamon roll love, real world love, love for mothers, daughters, women on the street. Beautifully said.
Well, thank you.
Rhonda saying yes to this. Wahida, welcome to the conversation, saying, I can't wait to buy this book and have my kids read it. It is eye-opening. Wahida, I want to let you know you can get a signed copy for your kids. What an incredible gift for them. And it is 25% off. So also an excellent deal. So here's that link again. Amy wants to know, do you ever plan to have a female protagonist?
I haven't. And I'll tell you why. I mean, like I have these characters like Aaliyah, for instance, in this book, and she'll probably come back. And I did once, because I did Debbie Doesn't Do It Anymore, but that certainly wasn't a mystery. It was another thing. But, what I found about doing it, I want to write about these Black male heroes. And even though there are more people doing it now since I started 30 years ago, I'm more concentrated on that, because I'm confident that all these extraordinary women writers are writing about female protagonists, like central in the books. And so I have been writing about guys, and I probably continue. Who knows? Maybe I'll give somebody a book, that'd be good. Rex Stout had a female character. Was it Doll Bonner? Was that? I love Rex Stout because he's funny. I like people who write who can also be funny. It's a difficult thing to do, but no, I don't have any plan to at this time.
Rhonda wants to know, Mr. Mosley, what do you think Beloved is really about?
Wow, that's a showstopper kind of question there. I think, I mean, this wouldn't be the only thing, but I think it's about the bleeding heart of the Black experience. I really do. I mean, I know that's a very large, kind of form to put out there, but I think it's it's all of that pain and all of those wounds that mostly women, but not just women, had to survive, and I mean, that's how I felt about it. I mean, there's a story, or there's stories, but I don't think it's about the stories. I think it's about that deep, painful and wounded experience, that Black people experienced between the end of the Civil War and, the later middle part of the 20th century. That a lot of and a lot of our changes, a lot of our experiences have come out of that. I mean, when I saw the Watts riots in 1965, there were only Black people out there rioting and mad and angry and trying to say, we don't like what's happening here. When I saw it happening in Los Angeles with Black Lives Matter in 2020, there's all kinds of people out there.
Mm-hmm.
There was a big change, and I think that Tony is a part of that change. These women writing these extraordinary books about what it's like to suffer through the ignorant and almost unconscious racism of a nation, and not only among white people or so-called white people, also among Black people. There's a lot of self-hatred that comes out there.
And you're right that when we started to see the protests in 2020, they were very diverse, and there was everybody had feet on the street. And I was out there in Boston, and it was very heartening to see how diverse and how inclusive it was, the crowds calling for change. Because it's one thing if a group of people, be it women, be it Black Americans, be it other people of color, are saying this isn't fair and this isn't right and we deserve a seat at the table. And it's another if the people who are already at the table and have seats say this isn't fair, this isn't right, and these folks deserve a seat at the table too. It's a really different dynamic, and it was heartening to see so many people finally calling for change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amy says, we really need a Black female spy or detective character. Oh my goodness, we got some good ones for you. Tracy Clark's brand new Hyde has an amazing kick-ass Black female detective. Yasmin Ango, who I've had the pleasure of hosting twice. She writes an amazing Black female assassin character. You're going to love that. I've got a lot more recommendations. I'll reply to this comment after.
And Crime Writers of Color does too. At crimewritersofcolor.com. Yeah, there's a lot of people doing it. And I think it's great and should be celebrated, and you will be very happy with it.
Yay! All right, so I put that.
I like Amy's last name Ellis because my middle name is Ellis.
I did not know that.
Walter Ellis Mosley. Yes.
Okay, Amy just got way cooler, even cooler than she already was. She was already cool. Rhonda saying, yes, yep, it's about the peculiar institution, what the peculiar institution did to Black people psychologically, spiritually, and sometimes literally. It's an extended metaphor for me.
Yeah, no, it really there's been so much pain, and there's so many people in America who experience so much pain, and it's not just Black people or brown people or whatever, it people who have it and don't even know it, people living in Appalachia and voting for Donald Trump, I mean, it's kind of amazing because Donald Trump doesn't care, and I mean. And really, I don't have anything against Republicans. I like a Republican notions, but when you have people who literally don't care and they're just worried about money, and you're poor, well, you're going to stay poor, and that's and that a lot is what I'm talking about in my books, and I think a lot of people talk about it about how people deal with wealth and entree.
Yes, wealth and how people deal with wealth and entree there. Ooh, in a nugget.
Yeah.
Amy saying she is so excited. Amy, yes, indeed. Letitia, welcome to the conversation. She says she is loving your stash and goatee. This is a look for you.
It's part of the pandemic. I don't know. The pandemic said you do this, and I said okay. I'm going to argue.
Well, it's working with the crowd. We're vibing with it. Amy saying she is a longtime fan. Raquel saying, yes, Yasmin is great. Sweet Liz saying, I just finished Every Man a King. And then even though I knew the end by Sale Polk, I'm wondering what Walter's reading yet. Walter, what are you reading?
Well, I've been rereading the science fiction books by this guy named Roger Zelazny. I mean, it's completely outside of our conversation. He wrote an extraordinary book called The Lord of Light in the 70s. And it's just, I mean, I've read it and then I said, let me look at it again and see if I still think it's so great. And it's even better than I thought it was. I mean, so I've been doing that. I've been going back in time and reading books that I hadn't, that I read before, reading some of, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I never read mysteries, by the by. And the reason I don't is that the plots get into some, kind of unknown part of my head, and I'm writing a book, and all of a sudden I say, this looks familiar, and I'm writing somebody else's story. And so I actually kind of had to stop. I've read, thousands of mysteries, but I've had to stop doing it because it's
wow, very cool.
Once I wrote a whole book. And I looked at it and I said, this looks familiar. And when you talk to yourself, of course it looks familiar. Stupid, you wrote it. And I said, no, I read it, and I had to change the whole book.
Oh my goodness. Carrie suggesting American Spy, Lauren Wilkinson. Paul saying he just bought your book. Absolutely, Paul. So very cool. And y'all, we are almost out of time. We got just 3 minutes left. And I want to remind you, you can get a signed copy of the book. This is such an incredible opportunity to gift this signed copy to yourself or Someone said they wanted to get it for their kids, an incredible life, something they can treasure for their life. I mean, a signed copy by Walter Mosley is so amazing. So here once again is that link, or the mystery lover in your life. I stockpile signed books all year round, and then I give them for Christmas and birthdays. So here once again is that signed book, opportunity to get a signed copy of this book. Y'all, you're gonna love it.
Are you sitting in this picture here? Are you sitting in front of like an orange grove?
I'm sitting in front of some bushes they're actually wild rose bushes, but it does kind of look like an orange grove.
I know. I was just wondering. He pops up and I go, oh boy, orange groves. I love orange groves, but I like roses too. I like roses.
And there's nothing like the scent of a wild rose. It's so beautiful. Y'all, you're going to love this book as much as I did. It is so beautifully and powerfully written, and it keeps those pages flying the way that only Walter Mosley can. So once again, here is that signed opportunity to get a signed copy, and they are 25% off. So it's a deal. Grab it while you can. Mr. Mosley, any parting words of wisdom, anything that you wished I'd asked you, anything you'd like to share?
I don't know. It seems like we covered everything. I can't think of anything. Thank you very much. For this. It's wonderful to be able to, to talk about writing and ideas and work. I mean, it's really the most. For me, I realized the other day that the whole kind of like thing about socialism and stuff is about being alienated from your work. You go to work, you make something that's worth $100. And they pay you $10 for it. You lose the thing that you made, and you don't have enough money to live. As a writer, I mean, you don't make necessarily that much money as a writer, but at least the work that you create is your work, and to be able to talk about it and to be able to share it with other people. Not only is it mine, but everybody else can have it too. It's not, I'm not hoarding it, in some cell somewhere. It's a great thing. It's a book. Other people can read it, but I wrote it, and that's really, I mean, you really can't live a better life.
Oh, my heart is full. My mind is open and germinating ideas. This has been a masterclass in writing and in life. Walter Mosley, thank you so much. Karen saying thank you. Raquel saying thank you. This has been great. So happy to have stumbled upon this interview. Kathy saying, I loved the sharing. God bless Brother Mosley for just being you. Kathy, so beautifully and perfectly said. Rhonda saying, please keep telling our stories. Monica saying, I have so many more questions. Thank you for your time. Try to make it to New York in May. Yes, come to New York in May. I popped it in the comments again because there are so many incredible opportunities to get published and to hear from Mr. Mosley even in a more deeply way. Paul saying, thank you, Mr. Mosley. Amy clapping and sending you love. We are also appreciative of the gift that is you and the gift that is your books. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Y'all come join Mr. Mosley in New York, and I will see you next Mystery Monday.
Thank you.